God is on a mission, and that mission is to reveal himself in his glory. Everything he's ever done, everything he's currently doing, and everything he will do is to accomplish that purpose. Now, as God is on this mission and he's revealing himself, it really is the story of God unfolding before us. And that story of God has sections in it that we call creation, fall, redemption, and restoration. And each of these sections of God's story also answer the key questions of our worldview and how you're to think about God and how you're to think about yourself and how you're to think about your world. So let's start with the first, creation. God created you and me for a purpose. That purpose is to be in a relationship with him, and in the context of that relationship, we put him on display. He created us in his image so that we could relate to him. And because we're recreated in his image, we have dignity and we have design. Dignity says there's value just because we're created in the image of God. And in being in that image, we are revealing something about him. And as we reveal something about him, we put him on display and he receives glory. We also have design. God designed us for a purpose. And that purpose is to live in relationship with him and to tend the world that he's placed us in and bring order out of chaos. So I'm created in God's image to be in a relationship with him and put him on display. The problem is Adam and Eve had an opportunity to continue to live in that relationship, but they chose instead to disobey God in rebellion, believing that somehow they could have life apart from God, and no longer was the mission to put God on display. The mission was for them to put themselves on display. So the second section of God's story is the fall. And the fall had devastating impact on God's creation. Not just Adam and Eve, but the entire creation was impacted by that fall. And so now things are broken. Relationships are broken. The world is broken. Things don't work the way they're supposed to. There's selfishness, there's sin. There's a big, big problem. But the next section of God's story brings the answer to how that's going to get fixed. He created us to be in his image, to put him on display. The fall has messed all that up. So now God provides redemption. And redemption comes through God himself coming in the form of Jesus Christ to live as a man and die and to pay the perfect sacrifice to atone for the sins of all man. Creation, designed to be in a relationship with God, the fall messed it all up. There's only one person who could fix it and only one way to fix it. Sin had to be paid for, and Jesus paid the perfect sacrifice in our place in order to appease the wrath of God and to reconcile man back to himself. Now, when we think of the gospel, that's the piece we usually think of. Jesus coming, living, dying on the cross, resurrecting to new life to provide forgiveness and salvation for us. The gospel story is much bigger than that because God just didn't end with us. The story isn't about us, and the story doesn't end with us. God is going to continue to reveal himself. God is going to continue to make himself known. And in the story of God, someday he will restore all things back to their intended purpose. Once again, there'll be shalom. Once again, the hope that was lost in the fall will be realized forever. And now, not just will man be reconciled and restored back to God, everything will be functioning once again as God designed originally in the garden, for the purpose of putting himself on display and bringing him great glory. God has placed us in his story. And as you live out the reality of the gospel, the reality that you've been graciously accepted, you have a changed life, and you have hope of a new world coming. As you live all of those out, through your changed life, you put God on display. He receives great glory, and his mission is accomplished. Creation, fall, redemption, restoration.